This is Performance Theory with Mike Clark.
Welcome back once again to Performance Theory. In this episode, we are meeting our brand new trainer, Keana. What drove you to becoming, I guess you're not just a personal trainer, you are a kinesiologist. You had a degree in kinesiology. So what led you into that field in the first place?
Right. Very, very basically, looking for education, and I was actually looking at military, going into that, but really all I would have made is going into Bachelor of Arts. So there's we had talked about this prior, the one college that you do military with, and then you also get schooling for free, but I wasn't really interested in arts, so just looking through and found kines with the U of A, and that really caught my eye, so applied and got it, and I was excited, ready to go, because, right, athlete all your life, you enjoy activity, so why not learn more about it? Loved bio, so that was basically the first start for sure.
That's good. What are some of the things that you like to do in your spare time?
Well, my biggest passion is I love martial arts. I was in Taekwondo for 8 or 9 years, and when I moved to the city, I actually had the opportunity to try out other things that were available in the city. So got to try out some jiu-jitsu, some judo, a little bit of wrestling, took a wrestling class too, took a rugby class, and love it, right? Just love it. That's one thing, just extracurricular activity for me that I have a passion for. Besides that, I love the outdoors. I love going hiking, climbing, things like that. Yeah.
What is your ideal client? Like, you're brand new to the industry. You specialize in kinesiology. If you were taking a look at a client, who would be your ideal client? That's
a really good question. And considering I just recently graduated this June, I can't really be picky. I just want someone who's willing and open to communicate with me. And I when I'm looking at training someone, I want to make it optimal for them. So if I can have them just being open with me, I want to know as much about their life as possible. I want to know what stresses them. I want to know what they're eating. I want to know what they enjoy. I want to know what they don't enjoy. So that informs my training them so I can be the best trainer to them. So that's my biggest thing. Not necessarily someone who likes to come in the evening or the morning, but that's, I think, the biggest thing for me. Someone who's just willing to communicate with me and be open with me so I can do the best service for them, give them the best service.
What kind of things do you see most people struggle with in, I guess, just whether it be weight loss or what do you've been at the gym a lot.
Right.
What do you see most people struggling with that they need to use a trainer, but they're avoiding it?
Well, actually, if I skip around that question a little bit, I think a big issue is people being afraid to get into the gym in the first place. I think a big problem is people being scared to go to the gym because they don't know what they're doing. And so instead of just going to the gym or going to a trainer, they avoid it altogether. And what I'd like to reduce in a lot of people's minds is, you got to get out there and try it. And I don't want to, people listening to this, hearing what I might criticize. I don't want ever to pick people apart and judge them for, maybe your technique isn't great to start, or maybe, you're a little bit worried about how you're doing something, or the clothes you're wearing, or whatever. Or, if you're wearing brand name clothes, or if you wore jeans one time because you're just starting out. I don't want to criticize any, gym goers for that, because I think the biggest importance is you're trying, and the only thing that I would criticize is people picking on other people, the gym monkeys, slamming their sets down and maybe coming over to someone who doesn't know what they're doing and maybe criticizing them. I think that's the worst thing.
Now here we are a private gym, so that's,
that's more that. That's more
the box gym.
Yeah.
That's one of the nice things that we find with the private gym is, especially if you're self-conscious, if you're not comfortable being at the gym, whether you're overweight or not. I mean, there's a lot of people that come in here and they just like you said, they're not comfortable with their form. But you know what? Quite honestly, everybody can work on their form.
Absolutely.
One of the things that I find that bugs me in this industry, is there's certain trainers out there that think they're the be all end all.
True.
And they don't want to learn anything else. And they think this is it. It's my way or the highway. But there's always new science coming out. There's always different techniques. And so I think that's really important as well.
Yeah, to build on that, that's when I was just coming out of my degree and mentoring with practicums and stuff. The biggest thing they told me is, what's typical for new coaches and new trainers is the ones who have the least amount of experience assume to know the most and seem to have the most ego and think that their way is right and their way is best. And as they progress, they realize, okay, maybe I don't have to reinvent the wheel, and maybe I don't know everything, and maybe there is value in just watching other people, especially other experienced coaches. And if you experience critiques from them, take it. Absolutely. Consider everything. Be really open-minded, I think. Having a really single-minded, small-minded mindset as a trainer is poison, especially in a field where you're constantly going to be growing as is. Like this field, there's new information all the time. So yeah, as trainers, I think that's really important to just stay open and stay willing to learn and put your ego aside, because you're doing this, right? You're doing this for other people. You're trying to improve other people. So stay with the times and continue to educate yourself and put your ego aside if you get critiques, for sure.
So being a female in this industry, I know a lot of females out there, they're scared to train because, you know what happens when women lift weights, right? They get super big and bulky, right? Right? And
yeah, right.
That's one of the things that is a really big myth out there. Absolutely. Ladies don't want to lift heavy because they think they're going to look like a man. Mm-hmm. And I just saw, I believe on your Instagram post, you address that. Yeah,
I had just made a post. We were taking some pictures for my advertising and all that, and I chose barbells, squats, and bench press. And, making content, one big thing that I don't want to say bothers me, but misinformation that I want to address is for females especially. There's a big focus on weight loss. I want to be thinner. I want to be thinner. I want to be thinner. Not a whole lot of focus on strengthening, and that fear of, I'm going to look like a man. I don't want to look like, I want to be feminine. I want to look good. I want to look good in whatever. And in my post, my response was, barbells don't make you look like a man. Steroids do. Strength training is going to make you look, in my opinion, I think a strong body is the ideal body, and that can look a lot of different ways, but you aren't going to necessarily look like a man. You're just going to look healthy. And I think that's my ideal for anyone, beyond female, male or female, and anybody. That's my main goal. I don't, I really am not a huge fan of just focusing on, I need to lose 20 pounds. I need to lose this. That's not, I totally understand weight loss. Sometimes it is healthy and sometimes it's whatever, but my biggest goal is get you healthy, get you where you need to be, and absolutely use strength training. Don't be afraid of the barbell. Don't be afraid of lifting heavy, because you're not going to look like a man, especially for the females.
How important is the actual number on the scale versus body fat percentage?
That's a big misinformation thing. I hate BMI. I hate looking at the scale. And honestly, even in my personal experience, I think it was really unhealthy to be looking at the scale and focusing on, okay, well, I'm 5'7.5", 5'8", and I'd like to be, low because some of the, other women around me are a lot lower. But the reality is if they're 5'2" and they're less than 100 pounds, that's their body, but that's not ideal for me. That's not healthy for me. So I think, first off, BMI, I think we learned in school and lecture, we were talking about what that was based off of, and it was some European man based his BMI. That was the basis that we used it off of. So it's not applicable for athletes. Just about every athlete that I talk to, they're overweight by BMI standard.
I am obese.
Absolutely.
I'm 205 pounds, 6'3".
Yeah.
And according to the BMI scale, I'm ranking it at obese because they say I should be at around 175 pounds. And I have been that
maybe
for
sedentary
competition, but that was very, very tiny. That's super restrictive dieting. And honestly, I felt really unhealthy.
Not sustainable. And totally for competition, I understand for performance. But yeah, BMI is, I don't think, sustainable for athletes. I don't think it's sustainable for anybody who has a body type that didn't specifically fit this one human that made it years ago. So I'd like to throw that out the window. And weight on the scale, I think, just poisons your mind. I think it takes away from progress that you make. Another thing with weight on a scale is if you're losing fat and you're gaining muscle, you might not ever see a change on the scale, but you are getting healthier. You are getting stronger. You are getting, you're seeing changes in your body composition. So like weight on a scale is a marker, yes, but it doesn't give you the whole picture. And I think I'd like to throw it out completely, or just about completely. So.
Well, that's exactly right. I've got a client that came in. She's about 5'11", and weighing in at about 168 pounds. She wanted to drop down to 145 pounds because that's what she thought was comfortable. She is very muscular. I don't think she has an ounce of fat on her. In fact, I know how much fat she has on her. She's got 14.5% fat, which, if you're not familiar with it, is low for a female.
Okay.
Ideal for female is between 16 to 19. And once you drop below that 16, because there's so many hormones that you need as a woman, that can throw a lot of other things at risk. So you can stop menstruating. There's a whole bunch of other problems that can start happening because of that. Yet, even though she was below ideal, which isn't great, she was still looking at losing weight. And I had to pretty much force her to concede that, yes, I am a healthy weight. But there's been such a big play out there. It doesn't matter how tall you are, what body type you are, how muscular you are. You have to weigh less. Mm-hmm. And that's something that I think that you're going to be really great at, and that we really promote here at the studio, is making sure that people know what they're worth and that they're doing things healthy.
Yeah, I cannot wait to be training more people here and basically address misinformation and educate people. Like, listen, you know what? You are healthy. Or if you're, still worried about being a little bit overweight, you're probably a lot closer to your healthy weight than you think you are. So I'm so looking forward to having these conversations with as many clients as possible. Yeah, get that education out there.
So let's dive into something else.
All right.
What is your why? Why do you do what you do? Like, why are you so passionate about this?
Yeah. Well, I guess you go back to looking at your personal experience and how you can make an impact on everyone else around you. So personally for me, I care so much about focusing on getting stronger and not focusing on getting like losing weight or trying to look like models on magazines and things like that. Because, right, when we go as young females, I'm going to focus on a female perspective, right, hitting puberty, things like that, your clothes don't fit. You're going shopping and you're crying in change rooms, right, because you realize, like, oh, and you don't realize at the time that that's completely normal, completely healthy, but you start to maybe pick your body apart and not really understand that you are healthy the way you are. And even if you don't look like a super thin person, and super thin people, that's fine to look that way too, but when you start starving yourself because you feel like you need to look a certain way, that's so unhealthy. And I personally have when I was in teens and stuff, would go a couple days without eating, and I would, the hunger pains and stuff, you'd feel good, you'd feel proud of yourself, and that's so wrong. And it becomes a mental issue that I want to throw out, and I want to help as many people as I can, like just talking to them and get so much farther beyond I want to lose weight, and talk to them about why and change their mindset. Because I went from looking at myself in the mirror and picking apart and, oh, I could get thinner, and you always can get thinner, and worried, that I had a bit of a problem there. And eventually, starting to get into fitness, and like I played on a football team with males. And that really pushed me to want to get stronger And that kind of changed my mindset a little bit. I wanted to be stronger in martial arts, right? You want to be strong. It doesn't feel good to be weak. And the thing with getting thinner is, especially if you're starving yourself, you're getting weaker. And it's so unhealthy for you. It's so unhealthy. And that's my big thing is hearing weight loss, it's hearing people want weight loss, women in general, like, I want to prevent you from getting weak. Because I was weak and I hated it. I hated feeling weak and getting back into strength training. It was really defeating to see that I couldn't lift a lot of things that I wanted to, and I didn't compete compared to the men or the males or whatever. And that's normal, but I just really wanted to get stronger, and now I've gotten to a place where I'm happy with my body and I feel healthy, and I'm not concerned about looking thin, and I want to help other people get there too. So that's one part. Another part, throughout going to school, sorry, this is nice long explanation, but
no, this is excellent. This is why we had the podcast.
Absolutely.
Because you know what? You're putting it out there, and somebody out there that's listening is in the exact same situation, and maybe they don't know how to express it.
Right. Yeah. Another thing that we had to take in our lecture was a health education class, and one of the big things that the lecturers had said is, in your field, you have the unique opportunity to sell people life, and specifically active life. And so the concept there is, when you get a little bit older, maybe you're 60, maybe you're 50, maybe you're 70, you do get weaker as you go. Like males, testosterone lowers, females, estrogen lowers. And if you're not strength training and you're not active, you get weak, and at a certain point, it starts to affect your quality of life. And what I mean by that is maybe you're struggling to sit down on the toilet. Maybe you're struggling to carry groceries. Maybe you're struggling to play with your kids or your grandkids. And even though I'm 20s now, I want to have an active life. My worst fear is to be spending the last 20, 30 years of my life in a chair, not able to move, hating my life, stuck in my mind because I can't use my body. And the reality is we have so much control over changing that. And I have the opportunity, I have the education to change that for other people. So I absolutely want to enforce that and want to support that. And
and it's never too late, right?
No. And if you're down on yourself, like, I haven't worked out in 5 years, 10 years, whatever, 30 days, you can always pick up where you start off or start new somewhere else. It's not a waste. You're not a failure. You can be down on yourself, but the best thing you can do is just start. I don't want to ever criticize people for not being at a good fitness level, because it's like, if you're here, you're doing the best thing you can for you.
Everybody
and I want to keep
starts
you
somewhere.
Well,
right?
Yeah.
Whether you're completely out of shape, you're kind of in shape, or you're really in shape, everybody starts somewhere.
Absolutely.
And that's the important part. I've had so many clients that come in and they're like, well, I don't want to come back, especially after this pandemic. I don't want to come back because I'm not in shape.
That's the point.
But they're not in shape enough to come back to the gym.
No.
And I just have to sit there and encourage them. And that's why one of the benefits of the private gym is no one's here to judge you. I mean,
True.
Myself, I used to be 275. I am not that anymore. I know what it feels like. And you're 70 pounds away from what you want to be. And it seems so hopeless. But at the same time, you want to make sure that you're giving enough encouragement that they're coming back and just living their best life.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's going to start by step one, step into that gym.
And that's another thing that I want to get onto too, is I talked about, being weak and wanting to get stronger. And I talked about, wanting to sell life, active life, so that you can enjoy your life when you're end of life. But, the last thing I care about is like I've experienced, almost being basically bedridden. Like you do your little bit of daily purpose that you have, whether it's school or whether it's work, and then you're so low, you're so not happy with life, you're unmotivated, low energy, depressed, you might not do a whole lot, and you're sitting on the couch for the rest of the day, or in your bed for the rest of the day, or, you know, you're not out, you're not enjoying life for the rest of the day. And I know what it feels like to be so unhappy with your life, and it doesn't get better continuing that. Like, you just get stuck in a cycle, and it's so, feels like you're wasting your life away. And I think it's really important, like, coming in and personal training, especially with someone, is, yes, it's the fitness side and it's getting active, but it's so much more. Like, come in and talk to me. Let's talk about your stresses. Let's talk about your nutrition. Let's talk about everything that can affect your life, and let's try and improve it. Let's try and improve that quality of life. Let's try and make you happier with your life. Because I tell you what, when you go for one workout, or maybe you finally commit, like, yeah, you know what, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to come and I'm going to personal train. And you do the one session, you might feel like crap because you feel, you might be puking because it was a hard session, but then you feel a little bit better, like, yeah, I did something with myself. Like, I took care of myself. And then you come back again, and maybe we're working on, you're eating a little better. Maybe you cut the slushes out, and you're starting to feel proud of yourself. Like, I want to give that to people. I absolutely want to improve their whole quality of life in so many different aspects beyond just fitness. Like, let's manage your stress and everything. And
you saw that today. She signed up a brand new client today, and everything was going great. I mean, clients absolutely loves her, okay? And then it comes down, the client pays, buys the package, and it's time to book your first session.
Right.
And that's about taking that first step. Everything was fine. The client was on board. We
Right.
booked that first session, and she's like, oh, wow, this is getting real.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about. It's taking that first step. And you know what? Whether it's with a personal trainer or not, you know what? If you're not comfortable quite yet with a personal trainer and you want to step out and you go, you know what? I'm going to go for a 10-minute walk. Mm-hmm. That's all good as well. It's not all about just personal training. It's doing what you find comfortable. The personal trainer is there to assist you,
support
you, and to help you reach your goal. It's going to be one of the best investments that you make in yourself. And the way that we have the studio set up is, realistically, you're not going to be with us forever. So what do we want to do? We want to provide you the absolute best information so that when you walk away from here, you're performing your squat correctly, you're performing your plank correctly, you're not getting hurt during that during that workout, getting an injury, and you're eating properly. And you can look back and you go, you know what? I remember when I saw my personal trainer and they gave me good information. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things that we are going to provide here is great information for each and every single client, and customized information. We don't do cookie cutter programs. Everybody is special here. We're working on each of their individual goals as well.
Right, exactly.
So if somebody is interested in training with you, where can they find you on social media? And you guys have got to see her kicks. I mean, they're pretty fast on the bag. But where can they find you on social media?
On Facebook, you can go to facebook.com/Coach Keana, and my name is just Keana. As well as on Instagram, it's just Coach K Duchesneau, so DUCHESN. Or you could email me, Keana, Keana, @purewellnessstudio.com.
And for those of you that didn't catch that, once again, all that stuff's going to be in the show notes, so you can just click right on the link and find it there. Thanks for coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
All right. See you guys next time.